It's Wednesday, December 22. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton and his team updated the country on the concerns relating to the COVID-19 pandemic on Wednesday at a virtual press conference. Dr. Tufton and a team from the ministry focused on the Omicron variant, characteristics of the fourth wave, and holiday safety.
We have been advised through the United Kingdom's international health regulation system that a traveler from Jamaica has returned a positive test result for COVID-19, and the genomic sequences has confirmed the Omicron as the variant for this particular result. So this is a traveler who came here on a short stay in one of our resort facilities and went back and was confirmed for COVID and confirmed for the Omicron variant. I think it is best from a planning, from a precautionary perspective to conclude that Omicron is here within our population. The conclusion is not to raise unnecessary alarm, but it is to place us on our guard as citizens, as Jamaicans, as we move about, particularly in this season of increased or heightened activity.
More than 27,000 Jamaicans who are not on state welfare are set to benefit from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's COVID-19 Cash Transfer Assistance Program. The United Nations World Food Program donated $155 million to the program on Tuesday. Labour and Social Security Minister Carl Samuda says the program will address difficulties faced by persons who would have had to travel long distances to collect money. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the government's use of the Disaster Risk Management Act has been effective.
So the question was asked of me, how is it that our numbers are going down so rapidly and staying down so well? And people are not taking the vaccine. Is it that we have some special immunity in our DNA? No, we are not different from any other country in terms of our biology. It is simply that the government has used the DRMA to great effect, and we have struck, I think, a fair balance in controlling movements and gatherings and mask wearing and so forth, shielding the elderly, controlling access to persons who are in state care and custody and so forth. And that has kept the numbers low. But it is surprisingly, it is those very measures that people are frustrated with and would want us to dispense with.
He says that the protocols set out under the DRMA, once they're followed, will help to strike a balance in celebrating the Yuletide season and keeping safe.
Come 2022, the society must go on. Yes, we cannot hide away forever. We cannot continue with the measures to shield people forever. I think everybody knows what to do now. Vaccines are available. Masks are available. You know that you should maintain distance. If you are exposed, get tested, stay home, watch and see what's going to happen if you develop symptoms. You know what to do. So it's in your hands.
The Prime Minister was speaking at the recent ceremony for the Universal Service Fund's presentation of a check for $20 million to the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica, PBCJ, for the establishment of PBCJ1. The new channel will be a dedicated 24-hour television educational channel. Top performers in the 2021 Jamaica Information Services Heritage Competition were presented with their prizes during an awards ceremony at the Knutsford Court Hotel in St. Andrew on Wednesday, December 15. The competition forms part of the JIS's thrust to engage students in national discussions and to widen their knowledge about Jamaica's heritage.
Chief Education Officer of the Jamaica Information Service, Donna Marie Rowe, says the JIS Heritage Competition is not just a corporate social responsibility activity. It seeks to give Jamaican youth a voice.
This is not merely a brand building exercise. We are seeking to do more by our young people.
Topping the entries this year were Acacia Stevens of Shetwood Memorial Primary in St. James, who won first place in the essay competition. Curtis Clennon of Cornwall College in St. James copped first place in the poster competition in the grades 10 to 13 category. Michaela Brown of Immaculate Conception High School in Kingston won first place for the grades 7 to 9 category in the poster competition. Olivia Gordon of the Michael University College in Kingston copped first place in the photo competition. Deputy Chief Education Officer for Core Curriculum and Support Services in the Education Ministry, Dr. Clover Hamilton Flowers, was the guest speaker at the event.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information acknowledges that this is an opportunity for us to point to the importance of our curriculum. I'm sure that for all of the participants, it was impossible for them to depend on a single discipline in order to generate their pieces. I can't imagine someone trying to write an essay without a context. I'm trying to imagine someone trying to take a photograph and not making use of space, not making use of their knowledge of shape. And I trust you're seeing that I'm pulling on mathematics now, right? Also, bearing in mind the kind of mood, that kind of tone they would want to convey. I can't imagine anyone trying to produce an excellent piece without making use of technology.
Students were required to submit various essays and posters on topics such as Triumphant, Proud and Free, taken from a national song titled Jamaica, Land of Beauty. Meanwhile, tertiary students were required to submit a photographic interpretation of the theme. Photographs were judged on understanding of the topic, originality, composition, technique, and impact.
The Labour and Social Security Ministry says it will take about a week to restart operations at its East Street location in Kingston, following Monday's fire at an old building on the property. Farm workers and other participants in the Overseas Employment Program are usually processed at that location. District Officer F. Bennett of the York Park Fire Station says 4 units, 3 from York Park and another from Ronington Town, battled the blaze. Permanent Secretary in the Labour Ministry, Colette Roberts-Rislin, says the heritage building, which has been vacant for more than 20 years, was destroyed. The cause of the fire was not immediately ascertained. Watchdog group, the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, is seeking clarity from power company JPS for its recent bill increase. We get this plus our regular market updates in this business report.
The Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, wants the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, to provide more information about its recent bill increase. The OUR says it got word from JPS regarding steep increases in fuel costs and other related charges that are expected to impact customers' bills in the coming months. This as a result of higher commodity prices for oil and natural gas internationally, the evaluation of the Jamaican dollar to the US dollar, and a temporary switch from natural gas to the more expensive automotive diesel oil ADO at several plants. The utilities regulator says it recognizes the potential rate shock to customers, but is also mindful that costs pertaining to charges by independent power producers, IPP, and foreign exchange rate movements are passed to customers. It says these are explicitly provided for in the Electricity License 2016 and the JPS rate schedule, and as such are not subject to regulatory control. In keeping with its duty to verify the composition and computation of such charges and how they are applied to customers' bills, the OUR has written to JPS requesting the following information. The rates and charges applied to customer categories for November and December 2021, analyses of the increases in fuel and IPP costs arriving from the switch from natural gas to ADO, and an explanation as to why some plants switched from natural gas to ADO. The regulator says it expects to receive all requested information from JPS by December 24. In foreign exchange trading for Tuesday, December 21, the US dollar sold for an average $154.66. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $119.64. The pound sterling traded for $207.16, and the euro sold for an average $175.87. In Tuesday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 1,084 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall, market activity resulted from trading in 94 stocks, of which 45 advanced, 35 declined, and 14 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 6 points to close at over 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Variable Preference, 1834 Investments Limited, and Access Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Blue Par Group Limited, and CAC 2000 Limited. Trading firm were CAC 2000 9.5% preference shares, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU deferred share. Mailpack Group Limited was the volume leader with 2.8 million units, followed by Lumber Depot Limited with 1.9 million units, and Proven Investments Limited USD with 1.2 million units. In market data for oil, prices were steady on Wednesday as fears of tight supply were offset by COVID-19 concerns after Singapore suspended quarantine-free travel and Australia renewed its vaccination push due to a surge in Omicron variant cases. Brent crude futures rose 28 cents to $74.26 a barrel after gaining 3.4% in the last session. Brent crude futures rose 28 cents to $74.26 a barrel after gaining 3.4% in the last session. West Texas Intermediate crude futures edged up 37 cents to $71.49 a barrel after jumping 3.7% on Tuesday. In another bullish indicator, industry data shows that U.S. crude inventories last week registered a larger than expected decline. And on that note, we close this Wednesday edition of the Business Report inside the news on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson. Pleasant viewing.
The holiday season is upon us, and one of the most common ways to make merry is with alcohol. But before you imbibe, there are things to consider. In today's Living Healthy, Dr. Heather Lawson-Myers of Ligony Family Dental tells us about the effects of alcohol on our mouth.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. Hi, I'm HD and welcome to HD's Jazz. Today we're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Alcohol. $1655. That's the date of the beginning of the infamous journey of this southernmost city, Port Royal in Jamaica. It was the home of many pirates, Blackbeard, Henry Morgan, and the Buccaneers. They had lots of wherewithal to consume lots and lots of alcohol. Consuming alcohol isn't a problem. However, anything that is abused is going to be injurious to your body. The first thing you need to know about alcohol, it's a drying agent, which is a good thing in certain circumstances, but you don't want your mouth to be dry. The saliva is there so that it can flush and help to clean your mouth naturally. So even mouthwash, check the label. If it says alcohol, find one that does not have an alcohol content. The other thing is you are very 6 times more susceptible to oral cancer if you consume copious amounts of alcohol. You're very prone to cancer in the mouth and the throat. Alcohol prevents you from thinking clearly. It affects your judgment. And so if you are under the affluence of alcohol, chances are you're more likely to be in a motor vehicle accident or in a fight because you're not using good judgment. It doesn't matter what the cause of trauma is. Trauma to your mouth can injure your teeth, your jaws, or a combination thereof. So remember, drink responsibly. Reduce your risk of dental decay, gum disease, and most importantly, oral cancer. So as we leave this wicked city of Port Royal, whether it's straight or on the rocks, you have to be mindful of your alcohol intake. Listen, catch us next time on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. Catch you later on HD's Jazz.
Over now to regional news. In Trinidad and Tobago, Attorney General Faris Al-Wari says the government is not proposing a mandatory vaccination law. This as he responds to numerous union leaders who are now accusing the government of imposing a mandatory vaccination policy on government employees. More from Mahalia Joseph Wharton.
Attorney General Faris Al-Rawi disclosed that he invited leaders of various unions to discuss the government's insistence that public sector workers should be vaccinated against COVID-19 from mid-January. Among the unions he has written to are the Prison Officers Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Police Social and Welfare Association, Fire Services Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and the Public Services Association. He has since received responses from the Oilfields Workers Trade Union and Trinidad and Tobago Registered Nurses Association, who have confirmed their willingness to meet. The AG is hopeful that the consultation will make the transition a smooth one, but he did admit that government did not speak collectively to the trade union movement.
What's the reason? People need to know where you are. The government received its information, assessed its data, consulted with experts, looked at the international context, consulted again, and then the government announced its policy. The starting point for any proper conversation is, what is your policy on this?
The Attorney General said those employed in the public sector will have the choice of being vaccinated and turning up to work.
That we are treating with a balancing of rights. The balancing of rights between those persons who wish to be protected in the context of being vaccinated and those persons who wish to exercise their free choice in not being vaccinated.
AG Al-Rawi also made it clear that members of the public conducting business in the public sector would not be required to be vaccinated.
Patrons who access the public service, people who come for services at the public sector, are not in the bucket of being asked to receive or produce their vaccination certificates. The reason is that we can control the crowds. So we can't control the workforce in a productive environment.
When it comes to the furlough of employees who are not vaccinated by mid-January, the AG said eventually this would lead to their termination or resignation, as the furlough period for an employee is not indefinite. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
in St. Kitts and Nevis. The 2022 fiscal budget of over $900 million passed on Monday in Parliament after almost a week of debates. Andre Huey reports.
The question is that the total capital expenditure and net lending for 2022 shall be in the amount of $952,200,453. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
The 2022 fiscal budget of over $900 million was passed on Monday night in the Parliament after an almost one-week marathon sessions of debate with the 13 parliamentarians and senators in the National Assembly. Mover of the bill, Finance Minister, Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, slammed the opposition on their contribution to the debate and said the budget is in the best interest for the development of the average person in the country.
Just like the double caught them by surprise, because they wanted to set the agenda. Team Unity said that it will give people this livable wage. When will this livable wage come? And when it did come, no praise, no commendation, criticism. But the success of it is in the thousands of people in Nevis and St. Kitts who are benefiting. The thousands of persons who have used that extra $500 to pay their utility bill. Mr. Speaker, this budget continues to be about how we create a better quality of life for our people. It answers to almost every sector. The business sector get their relief in taxes, providing them with additional resources to invest back into our economy.
He also spoke of the economic progress the country has made as per the International Monetary Fund IMF assessment.
We have heard from the IMF in its report that we entered the COVID-19 pandemic from a position of fiscal strength, Mr. Speaker. That is something of which we can be proud of, because we are a real country with real people, proud, strong, resilient, and we are excelling. Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are doing what we can, and the eyes of the world are on us.
The opposition over the debate has said the budget is lacking in several areas. Opposition parliamentarian Dr. Jeffrey Hanley warned the government not to become overly dependent on CBI funds to bankroll the budget.
Without $400 million in passport souls like black pudding on Saturday that they once used to say, Madam Speaker, this budget would be in a major deficit, and very little is being done to strengthen local productive sectors to sustainably fill that gap, Madam Speaker. Yet, the government comes in this honorable house year after year and again this year to admit that it has been woefully ineffective in keeping the national economy going and growing. And so, like every other year, the budget depends heavily on external non-tax measures, and that are beyond our control, Madam Speaker.
One of the high points of the budget was the paying of a double salary to civil servants and ancillary workers, which took effect on Tuesday. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
Words of caution are being issued to Grenadians as they head into the peak of the festive season. COVID-19 protocols are seemingly not being followed in some quarters, which have gained attention of those who serve in the Houses of Parliament.
Minister for Trade Oliver Joseph notes that as Grenadians have begun to celebrate Christmas, caution has been thrown to the wind in regards to the observance of protocols that limits the spread of COVID-19.
I hardly see people wearing masks, Mr. Speaker, as though the pandemic is over. I've already commented that there is no more COVID in Grenada, nobody dying, no new infection. But this is a virus that we always have to be on guard. See, there is a new strain. We don't know what will happen next.
Minister Joseph is thus urging citizens to ardently follow the protocols.
I want to urge the members of the public to please continue to observe the protocols as we celebrate this Christmas.
The RGPF has already expressed concerns about breaches of the Noise Control Act, whereby amplified songs in any public space are forbidden. During the Senate budget debate, Private Sector Senator Christopher Diali also called for caution to avoid any outbreak in the new year.
You could see from the release of the curfew how our people are behaving. It is an example that they come out from like prison, and the freedoms and the associated ways we behave. We pray because they are not observing the protocols, and we pray that when January hits, second week in January, and we start to test and we continue to test, we don't get the spike that none of us want. But we look at it and see how it goes.
Minister for Youth Kate Lewis and Education Minister Emmeline Pierre were also among the MPs who are urging care and attention during this festive season.
So I want to encourage all of our young people that while we celebrate, while we go out there to have fun, to be mindful that there are protocols out there that they should still ensure that they follow, and that would ensure that we can have a safe Christmas.
And I want to say in a general way that I'm satisfied that they have done well, but I want to admonish them this morning, please, to continue to follow all of the protocols. This is extremely important for us to remain in this relatively safe zone that we are in at this time.
I am Gerard Joseph for GBN News.
In sports, we kick off with football. The Victoria Mutual Group has become the latest club sponsors of the 2022 Jamaica Premier League season. Marlon Samuels has that story.
The sponsorship deal was inked on Monday at the Kingston offices of Professional Football Jamaica. PJF Chairman Christopher Williams welcomed VM's addition.
We view this as an extremely beneficial partnership because VM is an icon in transformation of Jamaica. VM has been there and done that. And their joining the Jamaica Premier League is demonstration that the Jamaica Premier League is developing and transforming into an attractive asset that has been able to get a group like VM on board.
The 143-year-old VM Group has been a major staple in the local business landscape. VM Group Chief Investment Officer and Head of Strategic Investment, Devon Barrett, says the sponsorship is a major opportunity.
Jamaica Premier League is a foundation in Jamaica. It has really transformed the lives of many young boys in Jamaica. And VM wants to identify with that. You'd all have seen our new tagline recently, transform your everyday. And I think the key to it is that we want to help to transform lives all throughout Jamaica.
VM joins a growing list of sponsors for the 2022 Premier League season. This includes Connex Services Limited, Conservit, and Mount Pleasant Academy. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
And that's our package. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for more news and sport right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.